Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about my hidden gems for Week 8 of the 2020 fantasy football season. Now, last night on Thursday Night Football between the Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers, unfortunately, the snap occurred once again. For those of you who had any Carolina Panthers playing yesterday, not named Curtis Samuel, you definitely felt the effects. And even on the other side of the ball, Calvin Ridley going down with an injury because of the snap. That's not the only players that are going to be struggling this upcoming week, as there's players that are currently in our lineups that are injured and out, like Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, and the entire Seattle Seahawks backfield. We'll talk about that as today's episode progresses. But on today's episode, I wanted to go ahead and fill in these empty spots for your teams, be able to bring up players that are not owned in very many leagues, players that can be considered sleepers or hidden gems going into Week 8 that can not only be plugged into your roster, but help you win this upcoming week. So we'll talk about my 6 hidden gems for Week 8 of the 2020 fantasy football season. I want to thank you guys for the incredible support as of late. We're almost on our way to 33,000 subs. So if you have not yet already, you enjoy the content, click that subscribe button, join the community. Also, go down in the description of the video. You can find timestamps down there, and you can also find our community Discord. Click the link, join, and ask as many questions as you'd like. We're going to do an event tomorrow, AMA, so hopefully you'll be there. Either way, I'm ready to talk about my 6 hidden gems for this upcoming week. Make sure you click the like button on today's video, and make sure you comment down below. All right, so starting off with the Power Stone, we are going to travel to Xandar in order to collect JaMycal Hasty, running back of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the San Francisco 49ers, they take on the Seattle Seahawks this upcoming week. And though that's a great matchup through the air for Jimmy Garoppolo, because the Seattle Seahawks are one of those teams that are giving up a lot of points to opposing wide receivers, the question remains, what exactly can we expect from the backfield from the San Francisco 49ers? Well, here's the situation. As of right now, Jerick McKinnon, as per Kyle Shanahan has said, he has tired legs. He's been beat up. He's coming off of not playing for 2 whole years, and he's trying to get back into it, and he's tired. Great. He's not going to be participating as much. We have Jeff Wilson Jr. on the injured reserve. We have Raheem Mostert on the injured reserve. And the only other running back is Tevin Coleman, who is designated to return. But similar to the situation with Christian McCaffrey, there's a chance he doesn't play. If this all goes according to the plan, JaMycal Hasty should be an incredible play this upcoming week as the lone back of the San Francisco 49ers. And to be honest, the value of a lone back for the San Francisco 49ers cannot be understated. As of right now, JaMycal Hasty is only owned in 43% of Yahoo leagues, but let me put into perspective just how valuable a starting running back for the 49ers is. Thus far this season, through weeks 1 through 7, on average in a half PPR scoring format, running backs for the 49ers have scored 29.5 points per week as a total group, not counting Kyle Juszczyk, who he himself has scored a lot of touchdowns this season already. So just the running backs themselves, as a whole, from weeks 1 through 7, every week average 29.5 points. That's an incredible number. Now, the thing that we've seen from JaMycal Hasty over the last 2 weeks is that he's getting more and more touches. He's played around 21 to 23% of the offensive snaps because, again, they're getting him more and more utilized because running backs are going down like flies in the San Francisco backfield. In the last 2 weeks, he's had 9 rushing attempts both of the weeks. Back in week 6, he had himself 9 carries for 37 yards. In week 7, had himself 9 carries for 57 yards. So again, over 4.0 yards per carry, and then got himself over 6.0 yards per carry this past week. So again, he's progressively getting more work. He's gotten a couple targets over the last couple weeks. And I think if in fact he's the starting running back this upcoming week in an offense that we know wants to run the ball 30 times in order to win games, I think there is a very good opportunity for JaMycal Hasty not only to step up as the starter, but potentially take this job for the coming future. I know he's a rookie running back. He's not as experienced, but behind this great offensive line, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle has a great blocking tight end. I think he has got a great potential of putting up some good numbers this upcoming week. So he is our Power Stone for this upcoming week. We'll throw JaMycal Hasty up on the board, and we'll move on to our next hidden gem for this upcoming week. We have the Space Stone, and the situation with doing the New England Patriots is pretty tricky. Damiere Byrd, as of right now, is our Space Stone because I think the sky's the limit for Damiere Byrd. And it's interesting that his name, everything is just kind of flowing with this hidden gem selection. As of right now, Byrd is only owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues. And from what I've kind of gathered over the last couple of days, N'Keal Harry, out with a concussion. He's not going to play this upcoming week. Julian Edelman had a procedure on his knee. I think it was probably a knee scope. Go in there, clean everything up. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. But as of right now, Damiere Byrd seems to be the only healthy wide receiver on this lineup. And going into a very pivotal week where Cam Newton struggled as much as he did last week, he needs to prove himself. So this offense playing against a division rival like the Buffalo Bills seems to, kind of lean in the direction where they're going to have to pass the ball in order to win the game. Sure, the Buffalo Bills have not been a great team in terms of stopping the run, but you're not going to be able to, run the entire time. I think Damiere Byrd is going to step up, and the couple reasons that I think he will is because he's proven in the past already this season that he's capable of doing so. Now, in week 2, he had himself 9 targets, 6 catches, 72 yards, and 10.2 fantasy points against the Seattle Seahawks. In week 4, he had himself 10 targets, 5 catches, 80 yards, and 10.5 fantasy points and a half PPR. So again, we've seen him get production and opportunity and deliver on it. Now, the entire thing that I'm kind of thinking right now, if the 2 starting wide receivers like N'Keal Harry and Julian Edelman are out, Damiere Byrd, maybe he gets more snap counts, but I went and looked at his snap counts. This season, he's averaging 90% of the offensive snaps per game. So he is the wide receiver that plays the most on this team since week 1. So it's not a surprise that he's going to be on the field, that he probably has the most chemistry already built with Cam Newton, and that he can once again deliver a decent performance this upcoming week and be a viable play. A couple of the other notes that I wanted to mention, the Buffalo Bills dealing with injuries in the secondary. Micah Hyde, safety, out. Josh Norman, out. Josh Norman's backup, Cam Lewis, out. So again, they're going to be struggling in the secondary. They've got a lot of pieces kind of missing, and I think there's a very good potential Damiere Byrd ends up taking advantage of it and becoming a great hidden gem play. All right, we move on to our reality stone. We have DeeJay Dallas. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't know what exactly to expect from the Seattle Seahawks backfield. All signs are pointing to the fact that all these running backs are injured except for rookie DeeJay Dallas. Now, the question is, what can we potentially do, and how do we, fully approach this situation? If, in fact, Carlos Hyde, Chris Carson, and Travis Homer are all out this upcoming week, DeeJay Dallas becomes the number 1 starting running back of this team playing against the San Francisco 49ers. He's only owned in 17% of leagues right now, and I kind of think that the reality of the situation is, considering Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, and Travis Homer have all missed the entire week of practice and are all limited to game time decisions or have been noted with a doubtful designation, kind of seems to me like, yes, they might try to play, but probably none of them are going to play. Travis Homer dealing with a knee injury, Carlos Hyde dealing with a hamstring injury, and Chris Carson dealing with a midfoot sprain. All of those are significant enough injuries to hold them out this upcoming week. And the way I see it, if you're going to be the starting running back of the Seattle Seahawks, you have an incredible amount of value, especially against the 49ers. And let me tell you why. Last season, 2019, the 2 games that the Seahawks played against the 49ers, they ran the ball a total of 64 times. That's 32 times per those 2 games. So they're definitely going to want to establish the run as they usually do. And then they're going to let Russ cook. But on top of it, DeeJay Dallas is a capable receiving back. I think he is a great potential pickup and play as a flex option this upcoming week. It's basically all contingent on the idea that all these other running backs miss. So if in fact they do, you go ahead, pick up DeeJay Dallas, plug him in there, and end up getting a pretty good performance out of him this upcoming week. He is the reality stone and the ether for this week. We move on to the Soulstone. We travel to Vormir, and unfortunately when we travel to Vormir, we have to make a sacrifice. And like I mentioned earlier, Allen Robinson has been dealing with a concussion, and he is most likely going to be out this upcoming week as he has not practiced all week long, and has been in the concussion protocol. So Darnell Mooney, as of right now, is the number 2 receiving option for the Chicago Bears. And ever since Nick Foles took over the starting job for the Chicago Bears, Darnell Mooney has gotten more and more utilization in this offense. In fact, he's jumped in terms of a gradual rise in snap counts from being in the mid-50s to 60, 70, 80 in this past week. So his snap counts have increased. His targets over the last 4 weeks, he's gotten 26 total targets. Unfortunately, has only caught 50% of the passes, but that is mainly because of the inaccuracies and the inconsistency of a Nick Foles. That being said, Darnell Mooney's had a lot of opportunities over the last couple of weeks, and I think one against the New Orleans Saints seems to be a pretty good option. I think the Saints are probably going to be leading in this game for majority of the time. Even without their own wide receivers, they're probably going to mount a lead and dominate against the Chicago Bears, which will probably put them on the back foot. They're going to have to go ahead and throw for majority of this game in order to keep up and stay competitive. So where do I see Mooney kind of participating and or taking advantage of the matchup? As of right now, the New Orleans Saints are giving up the 16th most points to opposing wide receivers. Not a number that we usually talk about on a weekly basis, right? We always want to focus on the top teams or the bottom teams and try to play it there. But this is a middle-of-the-pack defense in terms of points to opposing wide receivers. But if we look at the last couple weeks, in the last 4 weeks specifically, and how many points they've given up to number 1 wide receivers, Allen Lazard, 23.4, Kenny Galladay, 14.2, Mike Williams had himself a 25.4 game. And just this past week against the Carolina Panthers, the combination of DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, and Robbie Anderson combined for a total of 48 total fantasy points in a half PPR scoring format. So again, a lot of points have been given to opposing wide receivers by this secondary. I do think that if, in fact, Allen Robinson is going to be out, Darnell Mooney could be a pickup and potential play. He's only owned in 5% of leagues. So, again, he has the potential. He is our soul stone because we will be sacrificing Allen Robinson this upcoming week. I think he's got talent. I think he's got potential. And this upcoming week, we're going to give him a shot. We can go ahead and move on to our next hidden gem. We have the Time Stone. I've seen all 14,605 different outcomes, and I believe it is finally Tua time. Tua Tagovailoa, it is your time to shine. And yes, being the third overall pick of this past year's draft, that means that you're pretty much expected to carry this franchise, and hopefully that's what he's going to do as the remainder of the season progresses. They did go ahead and bench Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was playing out of his mind. Even since 2019, he has been a consistent fantasy quarterback, but bringing in Tua into the lineup, it shows me that this team is confident enough to let this young man lead. And if that is going to be the case, then I have enough confidence in him in a fantasy capacity to put up productive numbers. Now, I understand many of you in his rookie first performance this upcoming week playing against the Rams are a little hesitant because, of course, the Rams have Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, and that is going to be a tough defense to play against. But it is not an impossible defense to play against. Earlier this year, and even just a couple weeks back, Jimmy Garoppolo had himself a very good game against them, 3 passing touchdowns, 268 passing yards, and in a couple weeks back, Josh Allen had himself a very good performance against this defense, over 300 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and had a rushing touchdown. So again, we have ourselves a pretty particular situation, which I kind of find myself leaning in the direction of Tua. I want to give Tua a chance. I think, yes, he's owned in 32% of leagues, and many of you don't even have to start him, but I'm basically just saying go and roster him. Because if he's anything like Joe Burrow and or Justin Herbert, you have yourself a potential quarterback that with his late season schedule could end up putting up some ridiculously good performances. I've looked at his schedule and they're quite enticing in terms of the games that are on hand. In the coming weeks, Tua will get to play against the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Jets, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Patriots, and then the Raiders. I don't think that there is a secondary there except for the Patriots, which is in the fantasy playoffs, weeks 15. I don't think there's a secondary that I'm too worried about. I look at his schedule and I think to myself, wow, he's got himself pretty advantageous games, and why not go pick him up before the Tua storm and the Tua train leaves the station? I think because of the fact that there's not a lot of film on him going into this upcoming week, there is a chance that the Rams can be caught off guard this upcoming week. I like the fact that Devontae Parker had himself a full practice on Friday. Obviously, he's been dealing with a groin injury. You have Preston Williams, Mike Gesicki, of course, Myles Gaskin in the backfield. It's going to be tough to bottle up a guy like Aaron Donald, but with the mobility of Tua, leaning out and rolling out to his left, I think he'll be able to get it done. Tua is my time zone for this upcoming week. I'm hoping he balls out. All right, now we can move on to our final hidden gem for this upcoming week, the Mind Stone. Richard Rodgers is my Mind Stone because, again, cursed with knowledge, I've gone ahead and decided that Richard Rodgers has incredible value this upcoming week against the Dallas Cowboys. Just looking at his opportunity in his production last week against the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football, 8 total targets, 6 receptions, 85 receiving yards, 11.5 fantasy points in a half PPR scoring format. And having played 85% of the snaps, that is an incredible number. Now, on top of that, when I think about the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a team that loves to use tight ends. Not even just one tight end, but even double tight end sets more than just about any other team in the National Football League. That being said, the target share for tight ends for the Eagles this season has been 29.5%. That is an incredible number. And the fact that Richard Rodgers is the only healthy tight end on this team, with Zach Ertz on the IR and Dallas Goedert still on the IR, obviously designated to return, but probably won't come back this week. It seems to me that Richard Rodgers is still in line for a huge workload and a huge amount of targets going in his direction as a safety blanket for Carson Wentz this upcoming week. Again, they will be missing Miles Sanders. They just lost Deshaun Jackson. They will have other players coming back like Alshon or Rieger, but I still think that he will continue to look in the direction of their tight end because plays are designed for players like Richard Rodgers and Goddard to make successful plays out of it. But regardless, when I think about this entire offense and the defense they play against, Dallas has given up 4 receiving touchdowns to opposing tight ends in the past 6 weeks. On top of that, they've gone ahead and given up 13 touchdowns to opposing wide receivers this season. When I look at Richard Rodgers, sure, he's not a wide receiver, but if he's going to be making himself plays down the field, then we just have to look at the amount of points the Dallas Cowboys have given up to opposing offenses, the amount of points they've given up to the receivers and tight ends, and think to ourselves, if they've given up a total of 17 touchdowns this season, just the wide receivers and tight ends, my goodness, this is going to be a very one-sided affair, and I think Richard Rodgers is going to be able to, definitely deliver a great fantasy performance. Again, only owned in 39% of leagues. We'll go ahead and throw them up on the screen and go ahead and review our hidden gems for Week 8. Here we go. These are our hidden gems for Week 8 of the 2020 fantasy football season. As you can see, we've completed the fantasy football gauntlet with JaMycal Hasty as our Power Stone, Damiere Byrd as our Space Stone, DeeJay Dallas as the Reality Stone, Darnell Mooney as the Soul Stone, Tua time as the Time Stone, and of course, Richard Rodgers as the Mind Stone. Thank you everybody for watching. Sunday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, kickoff with Kirchhoff. I'll see you guys then. And until next time, see you guys. Peace.